From the very first announcement, Sleep Awake stood out thanks to two big names: Corey Davis, game director of Spec Ops: The Line, and Robin Fink, guitarist of Nine Inch Nails. An experimental psychedelic horror set in a world where sleep equals death sounded incredibly promising. The game does deliver a striking atmosphere and unique presentation, but as you play, the question grows louder. Do its grand ambitions match the actual content? A world without sleep. In the world of Sleep Awake, humanity has suffered a catastrophic event after which falling into deep sleep, delta phase, causes people to vanish without a trace. No one knows exactly what happens to those who fall asleep. All that remains is a void shadow, an echo containing their final thoughts and words. The story takes place in Crash, the last remnant of civilization, a decaying desert city that feels like both ruins and a slum. Formal power belongs to the militarized ODT Order of Delta Transport, which maintains control through brutal raids and forced removals. Other factions fight the sleep crisis in their own extreme ways. The Pain Eaters practice self-harm, the mechanics use electric shocks, while the protagonist, Katia, relies on occult herbal mixtures that distort her perception of reality. The game begins in Katia's apartment, which looks more like a laboratory and shelter than a home. Her first task seems simple: prepare eye drops to help an elderly woman named Amma stay awake. But exhaustion takes over and Katia falls asleep at her workbench. This is the player's first encounter with the Phantom, a nightmarish in-between state where space and reality constantly warp and shift. In this unstable realm, Katia meets a mysterious woman named Het who calls herself a guide. The game deliberately leaves many questions unanswered, offering only vague hints that slowly form a bigger picture. When Katia wakes up, pulled back by her ever-present alarm clock, the world returns to its grim normality, but the anxiety and instability remain. As she moves through the streets of Crash, the oppressive atmosphere hits hard. Distant crying, the sound of batons striking bodies, decay and despair everywhere. The world is both terrifying and strangely captivating in its bleak realism. Walking simulator on autopilot. Unfortunately, the gameplay rarely rises above simple walking. Sleep Awake is very close to a pure walking simulator. While it technically includes item searching, light puzzle elements, and occasional stealth sections, everything feels strictly linear and heavily guided. You almost always know exactly where to go, where to stop, and what to look at. The few puzzles are extremely basic. Objects are usually highlighted or placed directly in front of you, and Katia often literally says out loud what needs to be done next. Real thinking is required only twice in the entire game. Stealth segments are few and very forgiving. The most memorable one involves creatures similar to the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who. You cannot look at them or get close, or you die instantly. Another late-game section features blind monsters that use echolocation, forcing you to hold your breath and avoid stepping on glass. Even these moments feel slow and not particularly tense. The central concept, a world where sleep is deadly, barely affects the gameplay. There's no stamina system for staying awake, no reaction tests, and no mechanics that meaningfully reflect the theme. Sleep only matters during scripted story moments. Story and characters. The story has potential and manages to hold interest until the end, but the ending feels disappointing and pretentious. The narrative relies heavily on ambiguity and visual metaphors, but ultimately offers very little substance. Katia herself remains a blank slate, more of a camera on legs than a real character with depth or development. She makes no meaningful choices and shows almost no personal growth. By the final credits, the story simply fizzles out, leaving more questions than answers and a sense that it was building up to something that never arrived. Visuals and audio. On the positive side, Sleep Awake excels in atmosphere and visuals. The decaying city, detailed environments, and frequent kaleidoscopic FMV sequences create a strong psychedelic feel. The game looks moody and distinctive, even if it sometimes relies on standard Unreal Engine assets. The soundtrack by Robin Fink is excellent, atmospheric, original, and perfectly matched to the unsettling tone of the game. It greatly enhances the feeling of a world stuck between sleep and waking. Final verdict: Sleep Awake is a game with a fascinating concept and strong artistic direction, but weak execution. Its ambitious premise of a world where sleep means death is largely wasted on simplistic walking simulator gameplay, and a story that promises depth but delivers mostly vague symbolism and pretentiousness. While the atmosphere and soundtrack are genuinely impressive, the lack of meaningful gameplay and emotional engagement makes it hard to recommend at full price. It might appeal to fans of experimental art house experiences, but even they should try the short demo first. In the end, Sleep Awake feels like a promising art project that never quite managed to become a complete game.